So I've been looking for one of these for quite a long time. I'm talking about one of these hand crank emergency tools. For years, I've had dreams of taking one of these hand crank chargers and adding a USB port to it so I can charge my phone in an emergency. So I've been wanting to do something like this probably since about 2017. I remember it all too well. At the time, I had one of those battery banks that has a solar panel built into it, and I realized that the solar panel just wasn't cutting it. It just wasn't producing enough current to charge my phone. I remember sitting in the bleachers at the high school where my wife graduated, watching her graduate, my phone being about to be dead, and all I have is one of those chargers with a solar panel on it, and it just wasn't cutting it, and I think my phone died at the time. But I remember it was then and there when I decided I wanted one of these crank phone chargers. But you know me, I am an electronic technician. I can fix stuff and I can build stuff, and I'm not the greatest at it, but I do understand electronics enough to make some of my own toys. So I knew when opening this thing up that there was going to be the AM/FM radio inside with a circuit board. I wasn't sure how in depth I was going to go with this, but pretty much I decided I had to gut the whole thing. Okay, not exactly gut the whole thing, but I had to take out most of the AM/FM radio. Let me take the top cover off and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So with the top cover off, this thing, I know it looks a little complicated, but just bear with me, I'm going to explain everything. Now, under this bejungled mess is an electric motor that has been geared up so that you can generate electricity. Now, the really cool thing is that they've already put in like a bridge rectifier with a couple of diodes, so you could actually spin this in either direction and get the same current coming out. Now, the old 3-volt battery sat right here, and there's a transistor. On the output of the transistor, it would output at 3 volts or 2.7-ish volts. So the cool thing is when you actually spin this up, the electric motor produces between like 12 volts and 16 volts when you're going really, really fast and cranking it. But the problem is we don't have an exact 5 volts that we're getting out of this electric motor, and we need exactly 5 volts. So one day when I had this thing open, I realized that there was a solution for my problem. There is a voltage regulator called a 7805 that connects. It has an input voltage of 12 volts and has a consistent output of 5 volts. And according to the data sheet, apparently these can take upwards of 35 volts in and have an output of 5 volts. So I knew even with the voltage spikes, this 7805 would actually be perfect for this job. Now, you're probably wondering what these are here. These 3 things are capacitors, and these are set up to filter the circuit. So if we're charging a device here, we're constantly having a current draw coming through here and out the USB port, and we need the capacitor to filter that circuit. Then these 2 capacitors are actually in parallel on the input circuit. So these caps are taking the big voltage spike hits every single time to help filter 12 volts or whatever voltage is coming out of this electric motor into the 7805. And then we have this cap to filter the output of the 5-volt rail. Now, one really cool way I can show how capacitors filter a circuit, check this out. We're turn off our overhead lights, and I'm going to spin this up. When I stop, do you see how the LED slowly fades out? That's what caps do in a circuit. They help supply voltage to a circuit, and they let the circuit out slowly rather than abruptly. Because if we didn't have those caps in, it would be quickly on, and then the light would just completely go out altogether. Now, let me quickly just install the top real quick. Now, I think it'd be really fun to go ahead and demonstrate this. So we're gonna hook up our USB connector here and plug in our phone. As you can see, there is no trickery here. There are no added wires. There's no wireless charger underneath my mat. So one really cool thing we can do is we can actually set up our USB amp meter, plug it in, right? And we can spin it up, and you guys can see how much current it's actually drawing. Oh, wow. 300 milliamps. Let's go, man. All right, so as you can see, it usually draws about 300 milliamps, and give or take, it's definitely working to charge a device. Would I say that this is the best solution for in an emergency? There's probably other better solutions out there. This was a project that I wanted to try out to see if I could try to make something that would be feasible, that would make sense to generate some current. I'll tell you what, if you're in a snowstorm and there's a power outage and this is all you have, you're gonna be thankful that this is what you have when your phone's dead and there's nothing else you can do, and your only mode of emergency is to try to charge your phone so you can call someone. So yeah, if you wanna build yourself something like this for under $5, I highly recommend it. I actually have a video fixing a device that uses a 7805, and I'll leave the video on the screen right up here. And if you guys really like this video, let me know if you want to see more like it.